Have you ever looked in the mirror one morning, maybe brushing your hair or sipping your coffee, and thought, why do I still feel so weighed down? Not physically, though sure, our backs remind us we're not 25 anymore, but emotionally, mentally. Like there's this invisible backpack of expectations, doubts, and habits we've been carrying for years, sometimes decades. And maybe, just maybe, it's time we let a few of those things go. Now, before you think this is going to be one of those, you should be doing this and that kind of talks, take a deep breath. This isn't about adding more to your plate. You've done enough. You've raised families, worked hard, cared for others, and given so much of yourself. Today we're flipping the script. This is about what you can stop doing, right now, so you can start feeling a little lighter, a little freer, and a lot more like yourself again. There's something beautiful that happens when we get older. The noise of the world starts to quiet. You stop caring so much about impressing others. You get to decide what really matters. But to step into that freedom fully, we've got to be willing to drop some habits that no longer serve us. And I want to share 5 of the biggest ones I've seen time and time again. Let's start with this one, because it sneaks up on all of us. It's something many older women do without even realizing it. And it steals so much joy. It's doubting yourself. You know the voice I'm talking about. That quiet little whisper that says, you're too old to start something new. Or, nobody wants to hear what you have to say. Or, you're just not like you used to be. That voice, it lies. And it's been lying to you for far too long. I can't tell you how many women I've spoken to who still second-guess themselves. Whether it's about wearing a bright color, speaking up in a conversation, starting a creative hobby, or even traveling solo. And every time they hold back, not because they can't do it, but because they've been told somewhere along the way that they're too much or not enough, too loud, too quiet, too wrinkled, not wise enough, or maybe too wise for their own good. If you're waiting for someone to give you permission to believe in yourself again, let this be it. You are capable. You are enough. Not if only you had more money, more energy, more friends. You're enough right now. Exactly as you are. The wrinkles, the stories, the wisdom, the wounds, they're all part of your beauty. And if someone in your life has made you feel less than that, I want you to gently, but firmly, put their opinion back where it belongs, outside of your heart. We give away so much power when we let others' words shape our worth. It's time to reclaim it. Not in anger, but with quiet strength. Confidence doesn't mean pretending you have all the answers. It means trusting yourself to handle life, even when it's messy, even when you're scared. Because you've done it before. You've made it through every hard day you didn't think you'd survive. You're still here. And that says more about you than any critic ever could. Now, once we begin to rebuild that self-trust, we start to see just how much energy we've been spending on the wrong things. And that brings me to the next habit that needs to go. Right now. Scattering your energy. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You say yes when you really mean no. You agree to plans you dread. You stay in conversations that drain you. You keep people around because you've known them for years, even though every interaction leaves you feeling smaller. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that being nice meant being available. That to be kind, we had to be endlessly giving, even when we're exhausted. But kindness without boundaries isn't kindness. It's self-abandonment. You don't have to be everything to everyone. You don't even have to explain your no. A simple no thank you is a full sentence. You're allowed to protect your time, your space, and your peace. There comes a point in life, maybe it's 50, maybe 60, maybe 75, when you realize your energy is precious. You've only got so much of it each day, and you want to spend it where it counts. with people who lift you up, in places that feel safe, on things that actually matter to you. So when that neighbor asks you to volunteer for the 5th time this month, and your gut says, "I'm too tired," listen to that. You don't need to justify rest. You don't need to prove your worth by doing. You're worthy simply by being. And if letting go of certain obligations or friendships means your world gets a little quieter, that's not a loss. That's space. Space for the right people, the right joy, the right energy to find you again. I once heard someone say, "When you stop watering dead plants, your garden has room to bloom." That stuck with me, because for so many women, especially those who've spent a lifetime nurturing others, it feels unnatural, even wrong, to stop giving. But not everything or everyone is meant to stay forever. And that's okay. This isn't about bitterness. It's about balance. You're still generous, still loving. But now you get to choose where that love goes. You get to choose who gets a seat at your table. And more importantly, who doesn't. And as you start creating that emotional space, something beautiful starts to happen. You begin to hear your own voice again, the quiet knowing that's always been there. And you realize you don't need to do as much as you thought. You just need to be more of who you are. Let that settle in for a moment. Now take another sip of your tea or your coffee, whatever's in your mug, and just breathe. Because we're not done yet. There are a few more things that might be weighing you down without you even realizing it. So, where were we? Ah, yes, unburdening ourselves, reclaiming peace, and slowly, gently, making room for the kind of life that feels good, not just looks good from the outside. There's something that happens when we stop doubting ourselves and stop giving our energy away to things that don't feed our soul. We start to notice the little things again, the softness of the morning light, the quiet joy of doing something just for us. And in that quiet, something else becomes very clear. We've spent far too long chasing happiness in all the wrong places. And that's the third thing I believe we need to stop doing if we want to truly be happy. Stop looking for happiness outside ourselves. Now I know this one can sting a little, because it's not our fault, really. We were raised in a world that told us happiness comes from achievement, from others' approval, from a clean home, well-behaved children, a husband who brings flowers, a life that looks good from the outside. And when those things didn't show up or didn't last, we thought maybe something was wrong with us. Maybe we needed to try harder, give more, be more, and so we kept running. But here's the truth. Happiness isn't out there. It's not in the next purchase, the next relationship, the next compliment. It's in you, right now, quietly waiting to be noticed. It's in your favorite cup of tea on a rainy afternoon. It's in the way your body feels after a long walk. It's in the freedom of not having to rush anymore. It's in the ability to say, "This is enough," and mean it. The thing is, if we keep telling ourselves we'll only be happy if we lose weight, if our children call more, if our husband were more romantic, if the money stretched just a little further, then we're handing our peace over to things we can't always control. Don't get me wrong. I know some of you are carrying real heartache. Maybe you're estranged from your children. Maybe you've lost a partner or live with chronic pain. These are not small things, and I would never ask you to pretend they don't matter. But what I am saying is, even with those sorrows, you can still create moments of light, moments of joy. You can still decide that your happiness is something you can nourish from within. Not because life is perfect, but because your soul deserves to feel alive again. And you don't need anyone's permission for that. Sometimes we think happiness has to be big, loud, social media worthy. But some of the happiest women I've ever met live quietly, tend their gardens, feed the birds, knit by the window. They laugh with their sisters over the phone. They buy themselves flowers. They allow joy to live in the ordinary. You don't need a grand reason to smile today. You only need to notice the moment you're in and allow yourself to enjoy it without guilt. Because yes, joy takes courage too, especially after years of putting yourself last. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop chasing happiness out there and start honoring it in here, something else begins to shift. You no longer need to control everything to feel safe. And that brings me to the next thing we older women must stop doing. Trying to control everything. Now I say this with love, because I've lived it. I know what it feels like to want to organize every detail, plan every outcome, predict every possible turn in the road. It's not because we're bossy, it's because we care deeply. And we've spent so many years holding everything together that it feels terrifying to let go. But here's the problem with trying to control everything. It keeps us anxious. It disconnects us from the present moment. And most of all, it robs us of trust. Trust in others. Trust in the process. Trust in life itself. Yes, we want our families to make good decisions. Yes, we want the dinner to go smoothly, the holidays to be meaningful, the finances to be secure. But we can't manage it all. Not anymore. Not without burning out. And truthfully, we were never meant to. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is take a step back and say, "This isn't mine to carry." It's okay if your adult children do things differently than you would. It's okay if your plans change last minute. It's okay if the dishes aren't done right away, or the socks don't match, or the day doesn't go according to the calendar. Control feels safe, but it's often just a disguise for fear. And once we realize that, not just in our heads, but in our hearts, we can start to trade control for peace. That doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop gripping so tightly. When we release that tight hold, we start to breathe easier. We stop rehearsing conversations in our heads. We stop obsessing over what might happen tomorrow. And we start, finally, to live again. Here, now, in this moment. There's a quiet kind of freedom that comes with letting go. And once you taste it, even just for a second, you'll wonder why you held on so tightly for so long. So next time you find yourself wanting to step in, fix something, or plan it all out, pause. Ask yourself, is this mine to manage? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, then respond. Not from fear, but from love. And one more thing, don't expect perfection from yourself either. You'll still catch yourself trying to micromanage now and then. That's okay. Just notice it. Smile, and try again tomorrow. Because the older we get, the more we realize that life isn't about perfect control. It's about graceful surrender. And speaking of grace, there's one final thing we need to release. It may be the most subtle of them all, but it lingers in so many of our thoughts. And that's what we'll talk about next. So let's sit with this for a second. You've let go of doubting yourself. You've stopped giving away your energy to the wrong people and the wrong places. You've turned your attention inward to find happiness in the now, not in what's missing. And you've started loosening that tight grip on control. You're already lighter, freer. But there's one more weight we carry that deserves our attention, because it can quietly steal our joy without us even realizing it. It's the habit of believing that everyone is watching, judging, or thinking about you. This one's sneaky, because it often shows up in small ways. Maybe you hesitate to wear that bold lipstick, or you avoid dancing at your granddaughter's birthday party, or you hold back your opinion in a group, worried you'll sound out of touch. You worry, what will they think? But here's the truth. Most people aren't thinking about you, not in the way you imagine. They're busy thinking about themselves, their own worries, their own flaws, their own doubts. And if they are judging you, that judgment says more about them than it does about you. You've lived too long and been through too much to let someone else's opinion define your joy. So stop giving your energy to imaginary critics. Stop assuming the world is waiting to see if you mess up or wear the wrong thing or speak a little too loudly. You are not here to shrink. You're here to live. Wear the red coat. Dance barefoot in the kitchen. Tell the story. Laugh too loud. Cry when the music moves you. Sit at the front of the class if you feel like learning something new. Sing even if you're off key. Because you don't owe anyone an explanation for your joy. Somewhere along the way, many women were taught to make themselves small, to be agreeable, to take up as little space as possible. But now's the time to reclaim that space. Every inch of it. And no, this isn't about being loud or brash or showing off. It's about being fully, unapologetically yourself. That's what the world needs. Not a quieter version of you, a truer version of you. And if someone has a problem with that, let them. You are not here to be palatable. You're here to be real. Now, I know it can feel strange at first. This idea of putting yourself first, of being seen, of not apologizing for simply existing as you are. Especially if you've spent decades taking care of everyone else. Making sure the house was warm. The food was made. The birthdays were remembered. The wounds were kissed and bandaged. But just because you were the caretaker doesn't mean you were meant to be invisible. So let this be the season you come back into focus. Let this be the season you look in the mirror, not with criticism, but with kindness. Let this be the season you stop trying to fit in and start standing out in all the ways that make you feel alive. You deserve that. And while we're here, let's talk about one more quiet shift you can make. One that isn't about stopping anything in particular, but about starting something powerful. Start choosing peace over perfection. Start choosing rest over hustle. Start choosing presence over pressure. Life at this stage isn't about climbing ladders or keeping up. It's about depth, about richness, about finding meaning in moments you might have rushed through before. The world might tell you aging is about slowing down, but I think it's about waking up to who you really are, and finally having the time and space to honor her. So, if you've been waiting for a sign to let go of the old habits that no longer serve you, here it is. You don't need to keep proving your worth. You don't need to keep chasing people's approval. You don't need to hold everything together or say yes when your soul is begging for no. You just need to come home to yourself. And trust me, that's more than enough. Now, before we wrap up, I want you to take a deep breath. Right now. Close your eyes if you want. Let it out slow. And just ask yourself one simple question. What is one thing I can stop doing today that will make room for more joy in my life? Don't overthink it. Trust the first answer that comes. Maybe it's overcommitting. Maybe it's comparing yourself to others. Maybe it's apologizing for taking up space. Whatever it is, write it down. Speak it aloud. Share it in the comments if you feel brave enough. There's something powerful about saying it out loud and choosing, even in a small way, to change. And if this video resonated with you, if it made you smile or breathe easier or feel seen, please take a moment to like it and subscribe to the channel. This space, Strong Elderly Life, is here for you. You are not alone in this journey. We're all figuring it out together. Because no matter your age, you deserve happiness. You deserve peace. And you deserve a life that feels like yours. So go out there. Take up space. Do what you love. Be kind to yourself. Here's to living your best life at any age. Take good care. You're worth it.